On BBC World News, informed analysis of the latest business, economic and market reports from the world's financial centres. It's World Business Report.
Hello and welcome to World Business Report. I'm Leslie Kerwin. Tightening the net, Europe's new cyber cops warn of the growing threat from online crime. Plus, France's Labour deadlock. President Hollande calls for an historic deal between firms and unions as the nation struggles to compete. Three-quarters of Europe's population now use the internet, compared to a global average of around a third. That growing dependence on the web is putting the region in increasing danger from cyber criminals, warn senior European detectives. They say individuals and businesses in the EU will face a rapidly growing threat from African fraudsters as the IT infrastructure there improves. The warning comes on the opening day of a new European cybercrime centre in Holland, as our business reporter Brian Milligan reports.
Rising computer fraud now costs Europe €1.5 billion a year. Criminals are hacking into businesses and stealing from individuals too.
All around the world, cyber attacks are hitting the headlines.
Threats can come from anywhere in the world, but today comes a warning that cyber criminals may find a particularly easy base in Africa.
I think what you see in Africa is that when you see the development increase, you also see that African organized criminals and European organized criminals, they set up bases there where the infrastructure is right and where there also might be a weaker legal system.
Foreign computer fraudsters will be a major target at the new European Cybercrime Centre, or EC3, that opens today in The Hague.
This is an example of microcamera used by criminals.
Detectives here know many of the tricks of the trade, such as hidden mobile phones which transmit details of PIN codes after filming them through tiny holes. They've also built a Faraday cage, a room that wireless signals can't penetrate. This prevents criminals removing data remotely from devices which may contain evidence of fraud.
This is a place to gather the information, to exchange best practices, to do joint analysis, threat assessments, but also a place where you could leave some evidence for forensic analysis.
We identified this account from Mark Baker.
Officials here will now begin tracing communications that often stretch in a complex web around the world. In particular, they'll be trying to protect Europe's banks and retailers and to safeguard personal data on sites like Facebook. Brian Milligan, BBC News.
While Germany's Audi and BMW celebrate record sales in 2012, France's Peugeot Citroën is reeling from its worst year in more than a decade. For many in the French business community, news from the car industry this week only underlines a wider reality, that France is becoming less and less competitive. Today, talks between employers and unions aimed at shaking up France's labour market are due to conclude. President Hollande has called on both sides to make an historic deal to make hiring and firing easier while also protecting workers' rights, but it's proving difficult. We'll bring you more on that story as it develops through the day. And Charles-Henri Besser-Desor is Associate Professor at the HEC Business School in Paris. He joins us on the phone now. Professor, how difficult is it proving to reach agreement? Are the two sides too far apart?
Okay, good morning. The negotiation right now is rather difficult. We are in the first day. We just ended the first day. We are starting the second day. And as you say, we are not used to this concept of flex security. So again, it's going to be tough. There are some advancements in the negotiation. Yesterday night, the employers' associations proposed some advancement. The unions are still reluctant to go forward, but we are going to see what happens today.
Now, you mentioned flexicurity, and this is one of the ideas that's come from Germany, isn't it? The system of flexible working, which they call Kurzarbeit there. Now, basically, when employers are going through tough times, what they can do is to actually keep people on the books and just give them shorter hours or lay them off for a while, and then when it gets better, they've got the job back. Is that really going to get approved in France?
Well, we are moving towards this approval. It's not yet actually accepted. There are, in fact, if you look at the situation of the actors in the negotiation, we have 5 main players on the union side. 3 are basically close to sign. 2 are much more, antagonistic. So we are a situation where we have a division within the unions on the union side right now, and the concept of flexicurity is much more accepted on the 3 first unions I mentioned.
Professor, very briefly, how important is it to Francois Hollande to push this through? Because he has been seen as anti-business.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we can see, I mean, the idea is really, as you say in the introduction, is to develop much more competitive, much more competitivity in France. And the problem we obviously have is this rigidity of labor, market. So we try to increase the flexibility on the labor market, while, as you say, providing more security, and especially the concept of employability. I do think that what is very much at stake is increasing real employability for the people who are obviously laid off and try to get a new job in a new organization.
Okay, Professor Besser des Arts, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Japan's cabinet has approved a massive new stimulus package to boost the nation's flagging economy. The government will spend some $116 billion on public works and financial aid for business. Earlier, I spoke to our correspondent Rupert Wingfield-Hayes in Tokyo for the details.
It's really because the new Japanese government, the LDP, the Liberal Democratic Party, won a landslide victory last month, and the new LDP Prime Minister Shinzo Abe came to power promising to do something to kickstart Japan's ailing economy, an economy that has been ailing, as you say, for a very long time. So he's announced today this very large chunk of cash that is going to be injected into Japan's economy in a very, very short amount of time. Just in the next 3 months to the end of the financial year, they're going to spend something around $56 billion in new money on infrastructure spending, mainly to try and kickstart the economy, to create up to 2% growth in GDP and to create over 500,000 new jobs. And the reason they're really doing that is Japan faces another election in the summer, which Mr. Abe wants to win for the upper house of Parliament, and he wants the economy to be in a better shape ahead of those elections so that his party will be in pole position to win.
But now Japan has had effectively 2 lost decades, hasn't it? And we have had infrastructure spending before, and it didn't work, did it? Is this going to be any different?
Well, that's a question a lot of economists are asking here. In the short term, this is a sort of classic Keynesian pump priming of the economy. It's a lot of money, as I said, in a short space of time. Economists think it will work in a short amount of time, but only for a very limited amount of time. So what people are now asking is, what more is this new government going to do?
Let's have a quick look at the markets. Well, the Nikkei is up on that stimulus package, but elsewhere in Asia, really the market's not looking quite so happy. Of course, the US markets and UK markets were really boosted yesterday by Chinese data. That's it for now. I'll be back in a while to look at the newspapers.